Oh, I hate it when that happens. Oh, where's the countdown?
We're live,
Oh
Jackie.
no, look, I've messed it up. Sorry, everybody. Look, I'm gonna do this now quickly. Look. That was well worth it. Yay. I was so thrown by having so many lovely faces on the screen there. I forgot to put the countdown up, but hey ho, here we go. Welcome everybody to Speaking About Speaking, end of term special. Yay. So yeah, we've got to the end of July and we're all still here and looking forward to a summer break. So I'm going to go around the screen, starting to my right, probably on the left on that one. Ella, you are social media guru, you are personal branding lady, and you're a weightlifter, which I think is really interesting. So tell us, Ella, what are you up to for the summer?
Oh, well, we just returned from, well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. And we returned from Paris last week, Jackie. So we've had our sort of little summer holiday because we tend to go on holiday at Christmas time to the Canaries, hopefully, as long as there aren't any wildfires. But but yes, we've just been to Paris and had a lovely few days away. It was absolutely gorgeous. It's still the city of romance, in my view.
Yes, it's lovely. And the pictures you brought back, or the pictures that you were sharing on social media of the Eiffel Tower, gorgeous. Thank you, Ella. Sarah, best-selling author of Little Book of Confusables and Freelancers, survival skills for freelancers, and bird watcher and self-confessed nerd. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So what are you up to for your summer holes?
Yeah, not much actually. You saying that, it doesn't feel that much like summer to begin with now anyway, but I am going to the Lake District at the end of August with my partner and my two kids, which is lovely. It's also, at the moment, they're both home. So George is home from uni and Amy's home after traveling for 3 months around Southeast Asia. She's looking for a proper job. And in the meantime, she's working behind the bar at the gym, which is also coincidentally my second office. So it means I get to see more of her. It's lovely.
Brilliant. Oh, good idea. And Trisha, also best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and unsquasher, and rock climber. Again, amazing hobbies you ladies have. What are you up to this summer, Trisha?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Sarah did that. So yeah. Right. I'm sure about the best-selling bit, but yeah, it's a good book. I must tell you that it's very rarely rocks, Jackie, because that's kind of overestimating my skills. I'm an indoor climber, but I have tried out some rocks, and yeah, interesting. But I'm on a journey, and I'm definitely getting better at the indoor climbing. But the couple of holidays we've already had, one was in the Peak District where I did scramble up some sort of rock. One was in the Surrey Hills, which was in a shepherd's hut, which we go to every year and just walk and go to the local pubs, and it's gorgeous. And because I have only very grown up kids, we don't tend to go very far afield. I also live by the sea, so during the summer holidays, because it sort of makes more sense to go off peak times. So my biggest excitement is next month when I officially become an old age pensioner.
You don't look old enough, Trisha.
No, you don't look old enough.
Nice, Ella. I expect everybody now to be going, oh, no, she can't be. No, seriously, I'm loving it. I'll get my free bus pass and all the rest of it.
Brilliant. So you'll be able to do that lovely sightseeing along the beach and along the seafront. Brilliant. I'm sure you've not done that before. Well, we've got Mark Masters in the house. So hello to Mark. He says, hi all. Lovely to see you all in the same video space together. Lovely. Thank you for being here, Mark. So all of us okay, so what am I doing for the summer? I'm off working next week, back to Pinewood. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm away for 10 days driving down to France with some friends. So that will be very nice. So really looking forward to that. But here we are, 4 ladies in a video space together, all with speaking experience behind us. Trisha and myself, both from a sort of a performing background, but Ella and Sarah, you are both from sort of different backgrounds. It's the performance that isn't necessarily been your thing. Although Ella, I know that you've had singing experience in the past, and Sarah, I know you've done hip hop dancing.
I have indeed. I'm also in a choir.
And you're in a choir. So there's a certain amount of performance, I suppose, then in everything we do. But what let's start with Ella. Obviously, we worked together on a talk you put together, but you were a teacher for 30 years. So I think when you've been teaching, and I certainly come from a teaching background too, you're quite used to standing up in front of a group of people. So was the transition into speaking any different than standing in front of a class full of kids?
Yes, it is different. I mean, obviously you've got those presentation skills because you have to be confident in presenting in order to be a competent teacher, putting information across and everything else. But certainly the difference to me is that there are transferable skills that are clear, but then the difference is that you are imparting knowledge very much when you are a teacher, whereas the whole kind of putting personality into your presenting and the storytelling elements and that kind of thing of as well is that audience doesn't have to be there when you're presenting to them, whereas when you're teaching, I know they still don't have to be there, but they're kind of there under duress, aren't they? Because you're teaching a class of kids or a class of adults. So yeah, I think you've taught me that, Jackie, that it's that whole thing about remembering that your audience wants to hear something from you, and it's got to stick in their mind and make you memorable to them.
Yeah. So how do you do that? What's your little trick? How do you get people listening and engaged?
Well, I show videos of myself from when I was on the Cilla Black show in the 1970s. If you recall, well, Mark will know this, obviously, from Creator Day when I spoke last year. And, Jackie, we were trying to come up with like a hook, weren't we, for how we were going to get people's attention. And I said, oh, I remember I was on the BBC when I was like 9 years old or 10 years old or whatever. And I actually managed to dig out a bit of video from Facebook via YouTube. And there was me singing with Cilla Black. So, yeah, I think sort of like a little childhood story or something a little bit quirky, a little bit off the wall. That's a great way for you to be remembered and to finish with that as well, so that your story goes full circle. I think that's a really effective way of being remembered.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What are your thoughts on that, Trisha? Being from that performance background and engaging at an audience.
Yeah, interestingly, what Ella said was exactly what I did in the TEDx talk. I started with a story and I ended with a story, and it was obviously relevant to the message. And yeah, storytelling is definitely a good way of getting people right in there with you, but being careful not to just get overindulgent in storytelling, because like you did, Ella, like I did, we're making it relevant to the theme, that what we're saying, and that of course is relevant to the people that are going to be there. So yeah, I think one of the biggest things, it's funny because with acting, in the first place I was doing more the conventional theatre stuff, and in a way there's a sort of wall between you and the audience, although you kind of got to get through it in terms of the emotions. You're not directly connecting to them in the same way that I then learned to do when I started doing one woman shows and entertainment speaker stuff, even cabaret at one stage. That's a whole nother story. But it was much more, I was really there and they were really there, and there wasn't a pretense that, that there was a separation sort of thing. So that involved a different kind of vibe. And frankly, I enjoyed both, but I particularly like that feeling of being able to break through. And I think a lot of people, when they start speaking, the very idea of being on a structure called a stage or something like that, or even up front, sort of puts all ideas that this is a conversation out of mind, and all of a sudden it is, I'm being a speaker. And actually in those, obviously it is different in theatre and all this, but in most concepts of being a speaker, you are having a conversation. And you do need to, and do you know what? One of the best ways of creating a really good engagement with an audience I've discovered is a sort of vulnerability, but I don't mean a woe is me kind of vulnerability. I mean, just to sort of look, we're all in this together kind of thing. When something goes a bit wrong, some bit of tech's gone wrong, there's nothing more engaging than having a bit of a laugh about it, saying, oh, didn't expect that to happen. And that's it, you've cracked it. You're through. Yeah. You can almost deliberately make something go wrong, I'm suggesting.
But it is, you have to have that rapport with the audience, don't you? Yeah. And, that is more difficult when you're performing and you are playing a character and the audience aren't meant to get involved. When you're a speaker and actually, you're trying to engage them and impart knowledge to them or some kind of information, you want them on your side and you want them to be engaged. And really it is about them. And unless you're talking about something that is going to be relevant to them, then they're not going to listen. So you need to build that rapport. Sarah, what about you? What's your hook when you start a talk?
I guess hooking the audience in with curiosity, I think, is pretty important. So I might kind of hint at what I'm going to cover, and do a sort of something that's maybe a bit unexpected. I use humor, or try to. I also have really good looking slides. People always, if I'm at an event and I'm speaking, and there are lots of other speakers as well, although I have to say You Are the Media is an absolute exception because everybody's slides are just phenomenal. But in a lot of events that I've spoken at, people will say, oh, wow, your slides really stand out and really hooked us in. So that's always nice. But I think certainly having stuff that people can relate to, showing that empathy, and I guess just the same as I do in copywriting, showing that you understand the position that the audience are in currently, and hinting about how you're going to get them from where they are now to where they want to be, like outcome focused. That's probably the best of it. Yeah.
So let's move on then to experiences that you've had where maybe the tech has gone wrong or something has happened when you're there in front of those people, something that either engaged you more with the audience or kind of stopped you from building any kind of rapport and wanting the stage to open up and for you to fall into it. Who wants to go first with that one?
Yeah, I'll go first. So first of all, I've got like a little relatable example of something that I did want. I don't know if it's relatable actually, but you did mention the fact that I'm an obsessive birder, and I also have real difficulty with focus. I struggle with focus. So when I'm talking now, I always have to have my blind shut. Otherwise I get distracted by the birds in my cherry tree, which are opposite my eye line right now. And it was early days after COVID when everything was on Zoom, and I was delivering a webinar and I got distracted and went, oh, look, a heron. As if anybody who was on my webinar could see out of my window and notice that a heron had just flown by. But in terms of tech letting you down, I had like the worst example. I was doing a talk that I had created with some other experts in the field for a professional body, and it was the last talk. It was supposed to be kind of the highlight at the end of the entire day. And it was about imposter syndrome. And I'd had pre-talks with these other experts. We discussed what we were going to talk about. I was going to manage it all and lead the way and kind of guide everybody through. And on the day, I'd put so much into it. I was so prepped and I was just really itching to go. And then for some reason, I was with a different internet service provider back then, naming no names, Virgin Media. And I just lost my Wi-Fi connection completely. So I thought, okay, well, you do the thing that you obviously, the next best thing is to go on the 4G on your phone, and the 4G died as well. So I couldn't tell whether people could hear me. I was just talking into the ether and it wasn't getting through, and it was horrendous. I was so prepped and so excited, and I came off that call and I sobbed for 2 hours, and then I changed my ISP. It was horrendous. I never want that to happen to my worst enemy. Not that I have a worst enemy, but if I would just never wish that on anybody. It's just awful experience. I felt like I'd let everybody down, and yeah, stressed about it for days.
I think the worst of it is as well that if you're so prepped and you're so excited about doing it and you just want to share it. I know that, and that's where I try to, when I'm working with people, is you want to get them to that point where they're like, they're so well rehearsed, they can't wait to get up there and get it done, and then something like that happens. Oh, poor you.
I have to intersperse about Virgin. I think this is a great opportunity, a great platform. I have literally just ditched them, and it's taken 3 days to get round the bot circuit to actually get them understanding that I'm leaving. I'm really leaving. I really am leaving. Okay. Oh my gosh. That's a book in itself. But anyway, sorry, this is great. This is a whole Virgin bashing thing. So while I think, if you don't mind me barging in, I'll give a little story. This is about being brave enough to say no, actually, when you get asked to do something and you think it isn't necessarily going to be right for you, a good fit, as they say. So I have, in the sort of non-business world that I've been involved in for ages, I do lots of little entertaining pieces on the speaker circuit, which is more of a kind of community speaker circuit. So it includes WIs, friendship clubs, ladies clubs, yacht clubs. And in this case, and word has spread over a couple of decades of me doing this, I was asked by somebody to give a talk at the end of a day's conference. And they knew exactly what the talk was because they'd seen me do it, and it was funny. And it was a conference of all the people who are on the Samaritan call line. Yeah, exactly. Now, I said over and over again, I said, are you sure this is right? Oh, they'll want some light relief. That'll be perfect for the end of perfect. So I walk into this space, and I'm very intuitive. I'm very instinctive about fit and audiences and vibe. And the rapport thing is really important to me. And I just knew they were all in huddles, all very serious. They're just processing everything they'd done during the day. And oh my God, this is wrong. This is totally the wrong piece. But I kind of committed at this stage. So I sort of did it. And people, this is something that I think happens as a natural, instinctive brain body thing. Although I'm a very experienced speaker, I did the thing that you're not really meant to do, which was I panicked and thought, I need to get this over and done with really quickly. So I'll go really fast. And of course, that makes it even less engaging. And then, what the heck? And I'm thinking, this is awful. I'm doing this really badly. And I don't want to be here. And it was just horrendous. And I walked out. But the lesson learned was, I should have said no. I should have said, no, I honestly don't think thank you for inviting me. I wish you a great day, but I just don't think this is going to be a good fit. And I've learned that since. And also in the business world, you might well get asked to do something. And part of your brain says, yes, yes, yes. Yes, I want to do I want to be visible. And the other part needs to just have a little word with that part. Say, you sure about this?
Yeah. No, that's a very wise piece of advice there, is, learn when to say no. And it's okay to say no, nothing bad's going to happen. It's just, you have to choose carefully sometimes. What about you? Anything that you want to report?
Well, I think sort of some of my worst public speaking experiences have actually been when sort of delivering at assemblies in school. As you can imagine. I know. I mean, it's just like the worst audience, really. I mean, I don't know what assembly. I think assemblies are very sort of different now, and I'm not quite sure how often they have them at even at primary school these days. But certainly when I was teaching, it was like, we had assembly every morning, and oh God, it was really kind of like you would, and I was a senior leader at the time, so I was like expected to lead assembly with something stimulating. And oh God, you were standing there at the front of in front of 120 kids or whatever it was, 150 kids, just wishing that it would go as quickly as possible. Really, Trisha, you're right. I don't think there was ever one occasion. I'm sorry to say that was one of my great failings. There were lots of things that I achieved, I think, really well as a teacher, but one of my great failings was to not deliver a scintillating assembly.
Yeah, well, as you say, they're the worst possible audience, because they don't want to be there. They really don't want to be there. And it's like, what can you say that's going to entertain 150 teenagers, or it's just
whatever.
on a high to nothing, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's just typical of that audience, like I was saying at the very beginning, of like, how do you find something that's going to cover, kids from age 7 to 11?
Yeah,
who've got a wide range of listening ability, attention span, and everything else. It's just, you're not hiding to nothing.
Yes. Well, if there's anybody out there watching, listening, Mark Masters, if you have anything that you'd like to ask, anything you'd like to interject, any kind of your own embarrassing, funny speaker stories, then please do put them in the comments. If you're watching the replay after we've gone live with this, then again, do feel free to put comments below the video, wherever that is, obviously after you've subscribed, wherever you do that. And we'll endeavour to get back to you. In terms of mine, I don't think I've had any really bad tech stuff, apart from, again, getting really excited about presenting to the NHS. It was a group of NHS people, and I'd been asked to do a 10-minute presentation on Zoom. And when it came, it was on Teams, and I hate Teams. Why do people use Teams? Never works. Never works. And I came to do this, and lucky enough, I was the second speaker. And because I realized quite quickly that nobody could see me and I couldn't see anybody. And so while the first speaker was speaking, I was desperately trying to get my visuals to work. I came in, I went out, I came back in again, I did all of that stuff. And eventually, and I don't know if I'd got, I think I may well have had some slides. I don't always have slides. But yeah, I could use nothing. There was nothing at all. So I had to do it completely audio friendly, which actually in the long run was slightly better, because I actually ended up reading it. I'd practiced and prepared and done everything, and I'd got bits of paper stuck up all over the place with bullet points and everything else, which is obviously, when you're doing a presentation on Zoom, is easy enough to do. But actually, at the end of the day, they couldn't see me, so I was just able to actually read everything that was there. So in a way, it came out probably slightly better. But yeah. I mean, the other stories I have are really performance ones, when you're actually on stage in character and something happens. And I know, Trisha, you've got a couple of those. But I had one when I was in a very small theatre above a pub, basically a room above a pub, a two-hander, me and another actress. And it was quite an intense play as well. It was just the two of us, just getting it was quite intimate, because obviously the audience are practically on the stage with you. And it was a living room set, and there was a picture on the wall. And as we were talking, this huge framed picture fell off and the glass smashed all over the floor.
Oh no.
And I had a pair of slippers on, but the other actor was barefoot. So I'm now in my head thinking of the lines, and I'm continuing to speak the lines. And obviously we've both obviously clocked what's happened, but we carried on, and I don't know how we did it. But my character, thankfully, was a bit of a house proud, silly woman, really. And so I managed, in my head, I'm thinking, I know there's a dustpan and brush in the room next door, off stage. I could go and get that. So I've walked off into the dressing room next door. I'm still talking, still doing my lines. We're still carrying on. I've come back with this dustpan and brush. And as we're continuing, I've lifted up the rug in the center of the stage and started sweeping the glass underneath the rug, and we just continued and do you know what,
it's really weird, because I had a similar thing happen, but it didn't have glass in it. This was a long time ago, but a picture fell off a stage set, and it was full of magic and weirdness and superstition and spiritual happenings, this particular play. So I just wove it into like the poltergeist type thing. Yeah. And I don't know, but I must be a bit masochistic, because I actually live theatre and the possibility of all that happening, and I still go out there on the sort of entertaining speaker circuit and occasionally do fringe performance, but the thrill of the idea that something weird and unexpected happened, I kind of get a buzz from because you always have to. And actually, this is relevant to general thing. I'll shut up in a minute, but I always describe it, and you'll get this as you'll all get this as having almost like you are split in two levels. So you're doing your thing, you're performing or speaking or presenting, whatever it is. And then this bit here is, I think, that slide's not going to come up. I've just realized that my shoe's about to fall off. Somebody's just walked out. Why have they walked out? I said, oh, hang on a minute. There's a funny noise. The air conditioner's just going. You're doing all of those kind of things on this extraordinary other level, while still able. It's not that you're not focused, it's not that you're not giving a good presentation. It's you have to just retain. Same with acting. I mean, if you've got an emotional scene, you need to get as sort of emotional whilst not suddenly falling into a sobbing fit and unable to perform or say any of your lines or leave the stage when you're supposed to. So you have to sort of be incredibly close to the edge of something, and yet retaining that little thread of connection to the mundane. And and I just encourage people to keep doing this if they're new to it, because actually it is quite a bit of a thrill when you get to realize that that's what you've just done. But it's not instant, like me being able to climb up the top of a wall isn't instant. It's just very thrilling when, like you with your weights and you spotting a rare bird or whatever it is, it's just very thrilling when it happens. So
I mean, that's what it did interest me. And I was saying this to Trisha and Ella before you came on, Sarah, that when I was putting together you guys and sort of writing the description, I realized that you all have these pastimes, like Ella with her weightlifting, Trisha with the wall climbing, and you with your bird watching. And I just wonder why it is, and I wasn't sure whether it's just something that makes us. I mean, I don't know what mine is, yoga or whatever, but it just that kind of wanting to work for yourself, because we all have these other interests. It's not all about the work, and actually what we bring to our work is the fact that we are all quite sort of diverse in our interests, and it's not all about what we do. So Sarah, how has that kind of how has the bird watching kind of helped with what you do or who you are?
I guess the big thing for me is about taking time, appreciating. I mean, it's taken me, anybody who's read Survival Skills for Freelancers will know it's taken me years to get to the stage where I've realized and recognized the value of taking time out and doing those things that really restore me and regenerate my activity and my energy, even, because those things help with my productivity and focus. So as long as I'm feeling like my life is well-rounded and it's not just work, I don't work weekends, I don't work Fridays, and haven't for a few years. And those things, being able to have that space in my life where I can prioritize and focus on those things that restore me, that for me that's what it's all about. So having that balance, you know, people say, oh, you can't have work-life balance when you're self-employed. No, that's rubbish. Of course you can. You just have to work at it. You have to know what your boundaries are, and you have to get to this stage where you recognize those things that you need in your life to keep you at your most focused, your most productive when you are working. So yeah, for me it's been a lot to do with that. But then I think there are other things, like I'm also a massive movie nerd, and I think it's probably worth mentioning just because people who are watching this might benefit from it. The whole thing with Twitter yesterday becoming X, it's so like, cold and horrible. But I didn't realize that, because what I was doing in the morning, I shared a tweet about the fact that I'd done the Barbenheimer thing. So I went to see Oppenheimer and Barbie over the weekend. And I tweeted about it, and BBC Radio Gloucestershire saw my tweet and called me and said, would you hop on and go live and talk about your experience of the films and what you thought? And I thought, this is what's really important, that a lot of people don't realize. They're like, oh, I must be always on, always professional in my social media presence because it's my work persona. Again, this is something I don't especially believe in, because when you, like me, are your business, everything about who you are and what makes you who you are is valuable to what you bring to your relationships with your clients, whether it's kind of ostensibly so or more directly or perhaps more indirectly. And the fact that I shared that on social media, it got picked up, and then I had this opportunity to go on the radio. And I think the people who just go, oh, here's a link to a relevant article, here's what I think about copywriting, here's what I think about freelancing, that's all great stuff, and there's a lot of value in that. But at the same time, you're not giving people an opportunity to get to know the wider you, the full rounded person. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And I think that's what makes us, certainly us four ladies on this screen, unique. And it, you know, it makes us what we are. Fabulous. We are running slightly over time, but I think it would be nice if you guys are okay to stay on for another 5 minutes, just to sort of round this up. I knew half an hour wasn't going to be long enough. And Mark Masters says, tell Sarah I'm in Ledbury.
Oh, he's just up the road. I'm not.
Trisha, you were nodding away there with what Sarah was saying. You obviously agree.
Absolutely. And it is a weird thing. When I first went into the world of setting up a business, as in communication coach, I mean, it was logical because it was based on everything I'd done before. And that includes my life as well. You know, so it includes the mindset stuff and the learning and the self-doubt, but also the actual, you know, raw cold face of communication stuff that I'd done and the acting and all the rest of it. But early piece of advice I was given, wrong, was when I started mentioning, you know, my experience as an actor and the reminiscence work I've done with people with dementia, which is like really at the cold face of communication and rapport building and instant trust and everything else. And I was said, oh, nobody wants to know about that. And it kind of like, I felt quite wounded for a start, because I was very naive and I was already very uptight about the business world because I had various demons to slay, having had a very successful businessman father and stuff. That face does everything. But this just set me back, and this is what, and I talk about this really indirectly in my TEDx talk, because I kind of start with an example of networking phase 1 and I end with networking phase 2, which Mark Masters knows is a direct reference to his community, and that was the happy story. But it really set me back, because I suddenly thought, oh, okay, let's wrap up everything about me that isn't directly to do with me being a coach. And I felt, hey, squashed. Didn't come up with that word until a couple of years or so, well, quite a few years later, actually. But it described how I felt. I was squashing myself. And I had this odd idea that nobody would want, that I really shouldn't. It wasn't just that nobody would want to know, that it was really unprofessional to. And there's a balance, you know. I've got a ton of life experience that includes broken marriages and all sorts of stuff, and narcissistic abuse, and I could get really down and dirty with. And some people say, oh, you should share more about that. And I think I could, but I'm really balancing that. And when it comes out, because it's totally relevant to something that's going to be helpful, it will come out. But actually, I don't want to make that the whole kit and caboodle. That wouldn't suit me. It wouldn't suit the way I want to live and think and be. So, but yeah, to hide everything, especially when it was so relevant. So, if anybody ever gets given that little fob off.
No, you're absolutely right. But I think you are absolutely right about the balance too, because, you know, nobody wants to hear all of your deep, dark secrets just for the sake of it. You know, that's over, you know, self-indulgent of the person telling you all that, if that's what they're doing, if they're doing it for themselves. If they're doing it for the audience and because it's relevant and will resonate with the audience, then that's a whole other matter. So it is finding that balance. But I think, you know, the rock wall climbing, and Ella, I remember when we were doing your looking at your talk, was I really wanted you to show those fantastic videos you were doing of yourself in the gym and putting on TikTok, because they are so personal. They are so part of your personal brand. So do you feel comfortable sharing those in your business persona, in your business?
Definitely. You know, because my business it's much more than just, you know, that I transitioned from one career, from teaching to working in social media marketing. It's about being an older person in the marketing industry. You know, it's about being a woman in the marketing industry. It's about showing that, you know, we shouldn't let those barriers which society tells us, which is what Trisha was alluding to there with this squashing. You know, we shouldn't let that stifle our freedom in terms of, you know, what we feel we can achieve, what we know. You know, we're only here once. So I think that whole thing for me is, even now in my late 50s, is that, you know, I'm having my best life. I feel fitter than I've ever felt. You know, I mean, I've got little twinges and everything else. Trisha will relate to this, I'm sure, with the wall climbing, but you persevere through it, because that, you know, sense of achievement of being able to lift that weight or whatever it is, or, you know, I mean, you know, but I've got the most toned arms now than you know. So yeah, so that's what it's all about to me. It's about being able to, you know, live my best life, but also to show other people that's the more important thing, showing other people that they can do it.
And that's, you know, that's it. We are coaches, all of us in our chosen fields. And actually, surely the people that we are coaching want to see us as examples of what they can be, you know, what is possible, because we've all kind of got to a certain stage of life that we have this experience and we've been through this stuff, that we can actually pass on this knowledge, you know, that we are now, look at us, we are living our best lives, we're happy, we're doing what we want to do, we are able to be ourselves and to show up as ourselves. We are our own unique selling point, and that's what we're all here on this screen doing. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy to share a screen with you all. If you're out there watching the replay again, anything you want to know about any of us, then please do leave a comment. Let me just quickly, before we finish up here, show firstly we'll go with That's Sarah Townsend, editorial.co.uk. Is that where we can find you, Sarah?
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, all good. And then Trisha, we have trishalewis.com. Excellent. And then for Ella, muchmoresocial.co.uk. Oh, I got the /about you page there in that there. And there you go. That's me, powertospeak.co.uk. So lovely to see you all. Thank you for coming, and have a fantastic summer. I'm going to be back here middle of September, so I'll put the dates out, and I'm going to line up some really exciting people to be speaking. But I'm hoping you ladies might well come back at some point and share the screen with me again. Excellent. Well, lovely. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll speak to you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.